The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
Boy, howdy. Welcome to another episode of the Magic Mike Show. I am your host, Magic, and Mike is in Las Vegas preparing to win the 2024 NHC tournament. We wish him all the best of luck. Joining me today, good friend of the show. He's been on before. You know him. You love him. It's Nick Severs. Nick, how you doing today, buddy?
All dirt, huzzah! I'll do a fake. I'll do a fake Somich there. I have my NHC hat. Made it last year. Not even close this year. Not even close this year of making it. So I told Dr. Tang my goal is to make it next year. And next year I'll go and sit at table 145 and get really drunk and probably never hit anything and harass them enough to make them maybe win.
Hey, listen, it's a hard thing to do. And the fact that Mike Somich and Dr. Tang have double qualified the last few years is really a testament to the grind that they go through. And you know what that's like as well from qualifying and also not being able to. I don't have the patience for the grind that they put in. And so respect to everybody who is there. If you haven't ever been to an NHC tournament in Las Vegas, even if you don't qualify, go once. It's a hell of a lot of fun, especially if you've got like some friends or someone you know in the tournament. Believe it or not, that's where we met Dr. Miranda and her now husband, Kurt. There was at that first NHC that Mike and I went to. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's weird being in a room where everybody's competitive, but then you also start cheering each other on. It's a great situation. But all of that to say, they're gone, which means you get to come back on here. And we were trying to figure out where to go. We had some negotiations back and forth. I asked you to come on. You said, let's do Turfway Park. I said, I'm going to find somebody else. And then we landed on Oaklawn. So better than Santa Anita, better than Turfway. And I need a break from Gulfstream for at least a week.
Well, I didn't tell you this, but my tickets actually, I subliminally dropped in the Turfway ticket. So I'm not even going to talk about these horses at Oaklawn. It's actually my Turfway ticket. That's where I got you. You're like, why did you signal that horse? That horse makes no sense. It's because you're not looking at Turfway.
Oh, well, hey, I mean, the way that my co-host ticket sometimes goes on this show, maybe playing Turfway's ticket at this track will help you out. I kid kind of. It's not that I hate Turfway Park, Rodney. It's that Turfway Park is to me, it is like more so than Oaklawn even. You've got to watch that place day in, day out, every single race. And I ain't got that kind of time.
I love it because I've watched almost every race, almost every day. So if you've been in the Discord, you know that that's what I've been doing. I hit my biggest pick 5 of all time at Turfway this meet. It was the snow day, so they canceled the races after it. One of my horses got pulled out of it, so I got it twice. So it was only like a $2,100 pick 5, but it got it twice, so it was 42. So it paid for me to buy my wife dinner and the mortgage for 1 month. And I've been
I'm glad you said you added on the mortgage, because at first I was like, where the hell? Like, I know you live in a nice fancy neighborhood, but geez, $4,200 for dinner. I mean, that's Mike Somich in Las Vegas, like kind of a dinner, $4,200. That's crazy.
I mean, if you do like Turfway, and at this point you're probably too late. It is like Oaklawn, very good for watching every day. They run Wednesday through Saturday, 4 days a week, and it had been 9 races a day. So you kind of know every horse, you know everything that's going on. And I love the one surface. So like Oaklawn, I love Oaklawn because it's just got dirt. When you throw in a second surface, my little brain can't handle it. So I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing now. Wait, what's this grass stuff that's going on? So I really like Turfway. Next year, I think everybody should watch it. Yes, it's a complete crapshoot, but if you watch it enough, you know kind of what the track's doing. Yesterday, the track was all speed. So I told Dr. Tang he's going to play. Well, this is live. I won't say anything. He has a play in the second race at Turfway to get himself a I don't know. It's a mandatory race or something in it tomorrow. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to NHC. I'm not in it. Who cares?
Listen, pay attention starting Friday. You can go to NTRA.com and you can follow you can see the leaderboard. You can literally find any person and follow how they do. There's a very handy search box. So you just type in Somich, type in Tang, whomever you would like to look for. You can see how they're doing. I know I'll be watching that because there's really not a whole lot happening horse racing wise this week, which is also another reason why we're at Oaklawn Park, the only track where There's a graded stake and another stake, and they're both worth playing. So without further ado, Nick, let's get into it. The Oaklawn Park late pick 5 for Saturday, March 16th. Riders up! If you watch Do Two Bet Daily, which if you're not, you should, every Thursday through Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It's myself, Aaron, Papa Dude, a combination thereof each and every day, talking about our best bet, a single best bet from either horse racing or sports. Aaron and I usually go horse racing. Papa Dude loves his college basketball. My bet of the day is here at Fairgrounds in about 10 minutes, race 8. The number 5, Marcellus, who is 5-2 off a 3-1 morning line. The favorite is Iron Clover, a former fantasy league horse of mine from last year who's making a big return. 8-1 morning line. He's 2-1 right now as the favorite. So kind of monitor how that goes over here. And speaking of my former fantasy league team, we're going to keep talking about that in a little bit. But first, Nick, the first leg of the Oaklawn Park late pick 5 Saturday, March 16th, race 7 is the Purple Martin Stakes. 6 3-year-old fillies sprinting 6 furlongs. Half this field exits last month's Dixie Belle Stakes at the same distance, including the top 2 from that race. Where'd you go on top? Are you there, Nick? Did I lose you? I think Nick is frozen. Well, this is great. We're off to a great start on the match. While I wait for Nick to come in, tell you what, I'll go ahead and make my pick. My top pick is going to be the number 3 Brooklyn Drew. 6-1 for this filly. Listen, this is a big step up for her after beating off-turf maidens going 5.5 furlongs at Fairgrounds. But I really loved how she won. That was her first time on dirt, just her second career start. The first start, she didn't have a great effort or a great break, and so she never really got going. In that dirt start, she broke from the rail, sped to the lead, never looked back, drew off very sharply in the stretch. The jockey had the reins very loose on her that entire stretch run, which I love. I also love, Nick, that she earned the field best time form figure in that race. Any improvement here off of that makes her the one to beat. So I have the 3 Brooklyn Drew at 6-1 on top. You're kind of back. You're a little spotty. You're kind of back, but
my kids walked in. They all put on YouTube. We have like 6 YouTube streams going at the moment. So I'm sure I just lost all of the internet I had in my house. So I screamed at them to turn it off. So we'll see. My wife is walking and saying there's nothing on. I don't believe her for 1 second. I was trying to make a case for the 3 with you, but running twice on the grass and then getting pulled off the grass and running on dirt, I just don't know if it has the ability to do it. So when the 3 wins, I'm not going to be completely shocked. It was definitely one I considered. I landed on the chalk on Extreme Diva. Seems like the best horse, but what does that mean in this field? I don't know that there's much in this field. Being such a short field and her having her win the last 2 races kind of seemed like she was the best, kind of seemed like the most logical. So I ate the chalk and played her. And then I also played the other chalk, the other one that made sense that ran second to her, the 2 Blue Squall. I don't like either of them. Neither of these I'm really a big fan of in this race. This race was one that I just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to take the ones that seem most logical and not try to make some goofy case. So I'm on the 6 and the 2.
I did use the 6 and the 2 as well in reverse order. I went 3-2-6 here. And Rodney kind of brings up, how do you pay attention to weight? The 6, because she's won 4 of her last 6 starts, 2 of those being stakes races, including the Dixie Belle that she barely beat Blue Squall in. She's carrying 124. Blue Squall, despite being that close to winning that race in the Dixie Belle, is carrying 117 as well as Brooklyn Drew. I like that here, I think, with the 6 furlong distance, and because they're really between the 2 and 6 doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference based off their last race. I think that gives the edge to the 2. And a reason I have her in second over the 6 Extreme Diva, she broke her maiden with a nice driving finish to reel in Lemon Muffin. Lemon Muffin exited that, won the Grade 3 Honeybee next out for Kentucky Oaks Prep race. I really think Blue Squall, watching the replay of the Dixie Belle, would have won that race if she'd ever changed her leads in the stretch. If you watch the show, you know me, I harp on horses that don't change their leads. They drive me crazy. But then I watched her other past races, Nick. She'd never done that before. She'd always changed her leads properly. So I'm going to assume that was kind of a one-off issue and that she's not going to have that issue again. And so based off of that, along with carrying 7 fewer pounds than the 6, I think that's going to make her quite dangerous here. But like you said, the 6 is, if she's not the best horse, she's by far the most accomplished, right? The 2 stakes wins. She also beat the 5 horse that's in here 2 races back. The 6 also has the same owner and trainer as the 1. It kind of feels like the 1 based off of how her first or the last race went for her. She's going to be used for speed. And if that's the case, I think that takes the 3 out. I think that wipes out the 3. The 5, I think, goes with the 3 as well. So if that happens, I'm going to use the 2 because I thought that she, if she changed her leads, was going to win last out. I also think the 6 loves a fight. She loves to fight and to win. And that's something that you have to look on the replays to really be able to see, because she did not want to let Blue Squall get that win last out. She had to go wide around Blue Squall to get the win. So we agree on 2-6, but my top pick is the number 3, who you also mentioned you did consider.
Yep. And because we're gonna mention all the horses because I'm here and Somich isn't. The 5 also made a lot of sense coming in here. Ran second to Extreme Diva last out in that allowance race and seems to be moving forward. But again, 7-2. At least you took a 6-1 that made some sense in a ticket. I couldn't play a 7-2 on top of a 5-2 and a 2-1. So, but the 5, when the 5 wins, because we're both not talking about it now, at least I say, well, at least I mentioned it.
I don't think that the 5 is faster than the 3. And I think if you look at all of her races, the 5, when she's challenged, doesn't have the punch, right? She just doesn't have it there when it really counts. So, all right, let's move on, Nick. The second leg of the Oaklawn Park late pick 5, Saturday, March 16th, race 8. This is the first of 2 Archie-bred races we get to cover today. This is an N2L allowance for 11 fillies, ages 3 and 4, which is very ageist. They said if you're 5, GTFO. Sprinting 6 furlongs here. Where are you going on top?
So I looked at the 4 and the 7 coming out of the same race. They both, not the 7, the 4 and the 6 coming out of the same race, which I kind of liked them both, but then but I don't like them that much. So I went a little Somich like, and I landed on the 10. Second time as a race, second race as a 4-year-old. Last race was not all that great, but if you go back to that stakes race last April over the same course, over the same distance in an Arkansas bred stakes race, still not very good. But nobody in this field is very good. So I'm going to say that she has that ability to step up at 20-1. I was like, I prefer to get to the 20-1 and feel like I'm doing something smart here as opposed to playing ones that seem, they're all basically the same. Like if you threw these in a hat and pulled them out and showed me PPs and didn't show me a morning line, I can kind of make a case for any of them. So I kind of went for those longer prices. So my top pick was the 10. You're going to talk me off of it here in about 30 seconds, I'm sure.
Listen, you're going bombs away in this leg, and I'm not going to blame it. Arkansas breds are nutty, man, because they'll pop like a huge effort and then disappear for like 6-7 races and then pop a big effort again suddenly. Listen, since the 10 broke her maiden, I haven't seen much in anything of those races. She had the 1 stakes race as a 3-year-old last April. I was like, okay, she looked all right. She finished 3rd, but she missed 2nd by a neck. So, not a bad effort there. But ever since then, I'm like, I can't see why she had issues. So you got a second off the layoff, angle to go with, but very low percentage trainer, low percentage jockey. Just not for me. My top pick, I see Shadi talking about it, who's our favorite Archie bred here. Hall and Ice. Give me a Hall and Ice as the top pick from the rail at 3-1. This horse was a good second when debuting in the mud. Then she dominated last time out on a fast track. That gave her the field best time form figure in that race. Any improvement off of that win makes her the one to beat in here. And then trainer Lindsay Schultz, jockey Nick Juarez, they've won 4 of their last 11 mounts together, with 7 of those 11 hitting the board, including a win in a second with Hall and Ice. So I know it's a little chalky. It is chalky because she is the favorite and will go off much lower than 3-1. But I think Hall and Ice is a very solid horse to play against Arkansas breds.
It makes complete sense. My big concern was going gate to wire last out and never facing winners, and as a 3-year-old. So first time against olders, though not very many olders in here. If she doesn't get the lead, is she going to win? Maybe not. And at 3-1, it felt a little bit too asking a little much for that one. If it were 6-1, 7-1, I'm all for it. I can, I turn this whole argument around and make a case for it, but I'm like, I'd prefer not to play that one. So without that one, I kind of threw it out. I landed on the 5 as the other one. One of many. I mean, if you've played all here, I kind of understand, but it's 11 horses. It's not Santa Anita, so we can't play all most of the time. Same basic argument I made for the last one, where if you throw out that last race for the 5 Lassie My Girl, that was an easy one. I feel like Somich unable to read here. Lassie My Girl made a lot of sense if you throw that last race out. The time form figures fit if you squint a little, but as a 4-year-old, it's, third as a 4-year-old, and I'm throwing out that last one. So call it third as a 4-year-old. I'm already talking myself out of the argument I tried to make myself, but it kind of fits. She sort of makes sense in a squinty way, and at 20-1 is where I said that made the most sense. So not in love with anybody here, but why not throw a 20-1 on if I'm going to make a case for something nonsensical?
I mean, that's a set. Yeah, you're making all sorts of 20-1 cases here, and like Ed had said, never talk you off a 20-1 shot. Listen, I think last race, if you scratch it off when she broke poorly, was very far behind and never involved. If you scratch that off, like she's got another race, the stakes last year where Miss Carroll County finished third, happened again. But when she breaks well and stays within striking distance early, she has a chance. She runs competitively. We just haven't seen her win at all since her second career start, which was back in January of 2023. So again, this is, I think, is a better 20-1 shot than the one that you're using. But like Ed said, I'm not going to try and talk you off either one. Just like you keep going 20-1s, I keep going Chuck. I'm going to go with the number 4, No Coincidences, at 9-2 for my second choice. A good second on debut, and then she dominated her second start, just like what I talked about with Hall and Ice. When she broke her maiden, No Coincidences, she was one of my best bets that entire day. I never go to Oaklawn Park for a best bet. I went to Oaklawn Park for this one. Joelle Rosario was riding for Moquette, and never at any point did she not look like she was going to just dust those horses there. The concern I have for her is that the time form figures remain static from start 1 to start 2. It's the same number, but that could be because of the slop. She also broke her maiden in the same exact time over the slop as Hall and Ice did on a fast track. So I did like that about her. One thing you notice about these two horses, and another reason I love No Coincidences to break her maiden when she did, these horses have speed, and it's speed that doesn't just naturally quit. It's not like hey, I'm going to go quarter horse it, and then by the time we hit the quarter pole, I'm done. I have nothing left. Both the 1 and the 4 have shown that they can sustain the speed, both when they won and when they lost. So with Arkansas breds, I treat them kind of like low bottom claimers. The faster you are early, the more likely chance you have of winning. So I went 3 deep, but I started 1-4 here.
Well, and I was going to, I made a case for the 4 as well. And then 9-2 kind of talked me off of it. But we have 2 or 3 coming out of that race where she broke her maiden, coming back in the maiden race to end this card. Those ones also seem a little iffy, so I'm not sure what kind of field she beat, but she was 4-5, so you kind of everybody knew what she was. So I also had that opinion that maybe she's going to tear up, or they're going to burn each other out. Hall and Ice and No Coincidences will burn each other up, and then they'll not necessarily come roaring home, but maybe it'll be a 16-second last quarter of a mile or something, or eighth of a mile. I know how to do math. I'm very good at this. So it was. The other thing that I'll say a couple of times throughout this is that February 3rd weekend and the weekend before, January 27th, that rail was gold and it was cement. And so any horse that ran and won, or even just ran off of the 1-2 path and were kind of out, and she came in as a 7th path. And as you watch the race, she was kind of in this 2 and 3. I'm really moving them up. So No Coincidence makes a lot of sense. And I'm not going to use her on the ticket here, but using her on a ticket certainly makes a lot of sense. The other one that I used, and same basic argument that I've heard from you and Mike all the time, is second at 4 for the number 3 Doty. Ran well last out against Arkansas bred claimers, so kind of a step up. But as you said, they're all kind of claiming horses. They're all kind of that low level. So I'm just going to pretend that we're on a similar race level here. Ran second by a nose over a muddy track. It looks like we may get rain may be an issue, as it always is in Oaklawn. So, 15-1, second at 4, kind of sort of makes sense. You can kind of squint and make some sense of it. So I'm just going to go long prices, and in reality, I'll probably use 6 or 7 here in some sort of A/B sort of situation and look for some longer prices. Yeah, you've kind of talked me out of the one a little bit more than I wanted to. I wanted to throw that one out, but I'll probably end up eating some chalk and do a 1-4 pick 5 when it comes down to it, and then complain that I gave out the bad ticket at the end.
I did look at the 3. I don't hate the 3 at all. One thing I do like about this horse is doesn't have early speed necessarily, but does like to pass horses, and that's something that really can mean a lot, especially at these lower level spots. Second off the layoff, gets a fast track. Had a career best time form figure last out. Was it the mud, or was it just that she now is 4 and is improving a little bit? But either way, a horse that was a nose away from winning, playing back here in this spot at a nice price. It is a step up, but this isn't like your normal 30K claiming to N2L allowance like a Keeneland, right? These are Arkansas breds. There's not a whole lot of difference between 30K claimers and stakes horses, honestly. So, don't hate you for that one. Last horse I'm going to use, because I said I went 3 deep. I'm going to use the 6 Scenic at 8-1. This horse rallied from off the pace to reel in and pass no coincidences in that horse's debut. Scenic makes her 3-year-old debut here. She's going to need to take some speed figure improvement to be competitive with the 1 and the 4, but because it's her first start as a 3-year-old and she's been progressing a little bit, there is expected improvement here, right? You should be able to assume she will take a step forward. Another thing about her, she gets an additional 3 pounds of weight allowance. So 3-year-olds get a slight allowance in weight on their older horse, the 4-year-olds in here. But because she hasn't won a race since January 16th, she gets an additional 3 pounds. So she's carrying 116 when the olders are carrying 125, and the 3-year-olds, like the 1 and the 4, are carrying 119. I think that's good. Again, a horse kind of like your 3. The 6th, I know she's going to come running, that she likes to pass horses, not a trait you see often with Arkansas breds. And then trainer Brett Creighton and jockey Ramon Vasquez, they just have 4 mounts together in the last year, but 2 of those were wins and a third did hit the board. So when they team up, it doesn't happen often, but it usually equals good success. And I love that 8-1 price on her. We're both taking a shot against the 7 Appealing Addie, who's 4-1 here. I'll let you talk about it in a second. For me, I thought she had a really nice, impressive debut win last year as a 2-year-old. She was geared down, but the time was a little slow, and the speed figure came back low. And of the 11 other horses in that race, only one of them since December 8th has broken the maiden. You're getting a jockey upgrade here from Julian Leperu to Christian Torres, but at 4-1, Nick, I don't want to use her, especially when I'm going, the other 2 shortest prices in the race. I don't want to use a 4-1 shot when I have so many question marks and need to see a lot of improvement off a long layoff for a trainer not necessarily known for doing that.
Yep, I would add nothing to that. I completely agree. It's the first at 3 is the only thing you can kind of make the case of maybe she can make a big step forward, but if she does, is it worth it at 4-1? Now, if you look at the doubles and you see that she's going to end up being 20-1, well, then she may be one you want to throw on before you throw those tickets in. But, at a 4-1 morning line, I mean, we all make fun of the Oaklawn morning lines, and they're about as bad as they come. I still think you're going to get a fairly short price on her. And I think that, like you say, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to throw her on it. If you're going to throw one of them on, it seems like no connections or no coincidences makes a lot more sense than a Appealing Addie.
Also, and you mentioned the price, like she was 12-1 when she won. She's 4-1 here. Like that's a no. I actually can understand why she's 4-1, but I don't want to bet her because I didn't see anything. Like, also interesting to note, 11 horses in here, 10 of them on Lasix. The 7 says, I don't need no stinking Lasix. We'll see if that's the case. We'll move on. Third leg of the Oaklawn Park late pick 5 on Saturday, March 16th. Race 9 is the Grade 3 Whitmore Stakes, named after the greatest sprinter in Oaklawn Park history. 7 older males sprinting 6 furlongs, and the defending champion Tejano Twist is in this spot at 9-5. But where'd you go on top?
Tejano Twist. I mean, he's the best sprinter probably that America has right now. Best dirt sprinter. Yeah, he lost his, I should say, second best. Scully's not in America right now, isn't he, in the Middle East? So best one in America right this second. I think Tejano Twist is really good. He's been really good. He loves Oaklawn. He seems to love Churchill as well. He's as logical as they come. Speed figures are good. Just, he wins unless he's facing Bango or Scully, and neither of those are here, so he's probably the most likely. I did use one other, but I'll let you give some actual good insight on why this is a good choice.
Well, I singled him. This is how much I like Teano Twist in this spot. I singled him. Any of his last 3 races are good enough to beat this group. There is no Skelly. And by the way, last out when he was second to Skelly, it was in the slop, and Skelly loose on the lead. Off he ran, happy as he pleased. There he goes. Yeah, there's no horse like Skelly in this spot. When Teano Twist, to quote Aaron Halterman, when Teano Twist fires, he is a boss. So yeah, defending winner of this race, 1-2 straight 6 furlong stakes over fast tracks. He should get a fast track for this spot as well. And that was enough for me to go, yep, there we go. Single Teano Twist. Who's the other horse that you used, though?
I used the 4 Surveillance, sort of making the case that maybe Oaklawn's not the best place for sprinters, and maybe Fairgrounds is good, and maybe a 7-year-old all of a sudden became really good. So I kind of like the way that Surveillance has been running. Coming in out of Fairgrounds, it is at least a new face. I would prefer something better than 6-1. I don't know that you're going to get anything better at 7, with 7 horses, and everybody's seeing the same thing I am, which is a halfway decent figures, halfway decent running. So I don't know if it's worth. I'm going to use the 4 Surveillance mainly because I think if Teano Twist loses, I didn't want to put Rivet on here. So instead of singling, I was going to at least try and throw a little bit of a price. I tried to make a case for a couple of the other ones, and Teano Twist is just better. So if you did want to single the 2, I would not have any real argument against that. I think trying to get a little cute with Surveillance was my thought, is that maybe I tried to say a name and I couldn't say the name. The trainer of the 4 really Keith DeSormo. So yeah, that was my case, is that I like it. I don't love it. He sort of made it. I could make the case for him, and my ticket was cheap enough that throwing an extra one on in this race made more sense than trying to throw another Archie Maiden on at the end of the leg. So I give it a shot.
Hey, I mean, to his credit, Surveillance was less than a length behind Teano Twist in the Grade 3 Count Fleet last year. Teano Twist finished 3rd behind Skelly. Boy, I keep feeling we're saying that a lot. And Strobe was 2nd in that spot. Teano Twist 3rd, just 3/4 of length back to Surveillance. He is 3rd off the layoff, and his last 2 races have been, I would say, arguably 2 of his best in his career. But those were allowance horses at Fairgrounds. Now it's a Grade 3 at Oaklawn against a horse that's a monster in Teano Twist. And anyway, Rivet, I'm with you. Like, if you're not going to use Teano Twist, you definitely go with Rivet. Ed Burke is asking, can he steal the pace? Listen, last out, it was an allowance race over this course, but with Steve's son Keith in the irons, like he's going to be again today, went 21.5, 44-1, and then just drew off. Like, nobody was staying with him that fast. And if he runs that fast again, I mean, his last 2-back, he went 21-3, 44-3. Teano Twist got him that day, but from a pace perspective, if nobody goes with Rivet early, I think you and I are both going to know, like, Teano Twist isn't winning. Like, it's so hard to catch a loose horse that's as talented as Rivet. He's not Skelly, so I think that it works well in his favor. But Shadi, I know, is a huge Rivet fan, scored for her on Rebel Weekend in that allowance race I talked about at 5-2. So, yeah. I understand using it. If I had used 2 horses, I actually was going to go with the number 5 Ninja Warrior. The 5 horse, he's 5-1 odds. Because it's a fast track, this is what really intrigued me. Last 4 races, going 6 furlongs on fast tracks. He has a win by a head, a win by 2 lengths, second by a head, and a win by 4 1/4 lengths. Now, those are all against starter allowance horses, but outside of the top 2, we're kind of looking at around that class here. By the way, fun fact or an interesting fact about those 4 races that he won, 6 furlongs on fast tracks, the times were 109.31, 109.31, 109.31, and 109.32, and the 32 is the time that he lost by a head. This horse is nothing if not consistent. But then if you go look at Teano Twist's last 8 races going 6 furlongs on fast tracks, they're all much faster than that. And he won the 2023 Whitmore in 108.08. So he won it in almost a second and a half faster than Ninja Warrior has told you multiple times he will absolutely go this speed on a fast track going 6 furlongs.
Yeah, I mean, and the case you're making is exactly right. Is that if you're going to make a case against the 2 or the 3, you kind of got to make a case for him, and you got to squint to do it. You were smart enough to single it, and I said, I'll try and throw one on there. But I have to ask you and throw you a little bit of curveball as the Flavian Pratt expert of the world. Why is he in Oaklawn, and why is he on Jackson Traveler? Like, what's going on? Why is he here?
So 2 reasons. I talked about this Aaron Haltman. If you look at Santa Anita's card, okay, he can ride, he rides 7 races for $50,000 purses, or the 3 races that he is on at Oaklawn Park. He's only doing 3 races. He's coming in, and those 3 mounts are worth a combined $532,000 in purses. That's why he's there. Also, he's riding for Mott and Assman, guys who will absolutely give him mounts when he goes back to New York and back to Keeneland for the spring and summer meets. So that's why he's here partially. Next race, however, is why we'll talk about why he's really here at Oaklawn Park. The penultimate leg of the Oaklawn Park Late Pick 5, Saturday, March 16th. Race number 10. We've got a field of 10 older males in the N2X allowance level going a mile, which at Oaklawn Park, that's 2 turns, but means the race finishes at the 16th pole. And Flavian Pratt is here on the number 8, Rocket Can. But before we talk about him, where'd you go on top?
I ended up on the 10, basically making the case against every case I've made for the last 3 races, which is first at 4, great time to play him. I say first at 4 for Rocket Can, bad time to play him. The logic in my brain sometimes makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But if you look at the 10 heroic move, he's ran at Oaklawn. This will be his 3rd race at Oaklawn, coming out of Zia. He ran poorly in that allowance race 2 back on December 29th. I don't really have an excuse for that one. I was trying to make one in my head. I really don't have one. But then you look at the last one, similar race to what you're going to be seeing here on Saturday. And he won there, both of them at 6-5. I don't know if it's the 16th of a mile last out that made him go better. I think it's more of he's just better now. And Hernandez, let's say it's Hernandez over Torres, which, really doesn't make any real sense, but we can pretend, right? So I ended up with a 10 heroic move, not some great idea other than I was trying to beat Rocket Can, and that's where I landed.
Listen, I did use Rocket Can, but he's not my top pick, and I went 4 deep here. However, I did not use heroic move, and let me tell you why. It's the same reason he did horribly, was 5th beaten 3 lengths 2 back when he broke from post 11, going the short stretch 2-turn mile. He's breaking from post 10, going a short stretch 2-turn mile. Doesn't improve it at his chances any to me, so I'm going to be against him in this spot. Top pick, I'm going for a double-digit horse here. Number 5, Lucky Boss at 10-1. Now, the odds will probably come down on this horse because he's won 4 of his last 5 starts, including 2 straight, both of which were routes over this exact course here. Jockey Manuel Esquivel's last 3 mounts on this horse were all wins, and Lucky Boss loves to pass horses. So if heroic move goes out early, it gets used early from that wide outside post and then kind of stumbles a little bit home. If Rocket Can is not sharp off the layoff, if the 2 coughs up the easy lead that he has for the 4th straight race, I know that Lucky Boss with a clean trip is going to be passing horses. He can do it from as far back as 12 lengths. He can do it as close as 2 to 3 lengths to the lead. It doesn't matter. This horse loves to pass. He loves to win, especially at Oaklawn Park. So I went with the 5, Lucky Boss on top at 10-1.
I used that one for basically the exact same reasons. Similar race as he ran last time. He won that one by a nose. 2 back, it was a little bit easier of a race, but lost that one by a head. So he definitely does want to at least be close. The 10-1 is what really got me to that point, was like, you can make the case for him and you're going to get a decent price. I don't know you're getting 10-1. You're probably closer to 5 or 6. Rocket Can depends on how much money Rocket Can's taken. But I think in the pick 5, you're going to get close enough to that 10-1 that it's worth using. So I used him as well.
The next horse up for me is going to be Rocket Can, another former Fantasy League team member for me, returns from 315 days off while facing allowance horses for the first time since November 26, 2022. This horse won the Great the Holy Bull, going a mile on the 16th at Gulfstream. That setup also finishes at the 16th pole. So even though it's a 16th of a mile longer than this race, a shorter stretch, so he kind of has to kick into gear a little bit more. First time in his career, he gets Lasix, and Flavian Pratt is on this horse, like I mentioned earlier. I think that this horse is the single biggest reason of the 3 mounts he has as to why he's at Oaklawn Park, that he and Bill Mott, who teamed up to become winners of the Kentucky Derby with Country House, see if they can get things going here with Rocket Can. So I did use him on top. I understand with the layoff, the first time at 4, the short price, if all of that adds up to you saying, I don't want to touch Rocket Can, like I'll let him beat me in this spot. I understand it.
Yep, that was exactly what it was he's probably the best horse, but he's definitely the best horse next time out. But there's a reason he's running an allowance race and not a stakes race. So I kind of assume he's going to be running into a stakes race out of this regardless of the results. I'm sure there's something coming up, probably the Razorback on Arkansas Derby Day. But that's probably too soon because that's actually relatively soon. Luckily, we have the Arkansas Derby close, which, somehow I talked about now the Arkansas Derby when we're talking about an allowance race on Saturday. I also ended up on the 4. He is one that I really, really, really liked coming out of that February 3rd race where he was in the 10 hole and won off of that, what I consider the best rail ever. And he won in a race that's very, very similar level as this one. If I get anywhere near 15-1, he'll be a win bet. I think he is a very legitimate winner here, and I will be using pretty much everywhere. There was a world where I singled the 4 here and tried to make a real case elsewhere. I'll probably play at least a ticket with him as my lone single and kind of find some stuff, other horses in other races, including, throwing on some short prices and trying to run through a 15-1. But he's a very logical one for me. I like the stretch out coming, second at 4, going from a 6 furlong to a mile really is just kind of fits everything I want here. And now I've just talked him last probably, and probably at 2-1 or something similar. So, that's what I'm here for.
I mean, similar. You're using the same, similar angle as you were with the 5. Is that this horse has, won 3 of the last 4 of the last 6 races, including through the trainer change there. Arietta has been aboard this horse before, including last out. So it seems to be improving. That last race, I'm just wondering, was it the slop that moved him up? It was his first race as a 4-year-old. Was it cutting back from 2 turns to 1, and now he's back to 2, but 39-1 last out. You should get most all of that 15-1 here too. So not going to try and tuck you off of him. I will say also, just to clarify, Rocket Can is here to target this is his return, the Oaklawn Handicap on April 20th. That's a grade 2 race worth $1.25 million.
There you go.
That's where he is kind of, I feel like he's setting up for that one, because that day at Keeneland, it's the Ben Li and the Elkhorn, and together those add up to $650,000, or half of what one race at Oaklawn is going to be worth that day. So that's probably why he's here. Yep. I just see what his talent can do. 2 more horses for me. I'll go through them quick. I'm going to use the number 2 Pat's Property at 12-1. I know I talked about him, and yes, this horse loves to cough up the lead once he's challenged. But on paper, he is lone speed. One of these times, Nick, he's going to just go out there at Oaklawn and not get challenged and managed to get it done. And I like that he is at this the short stretch mile setup here. Earlier this year, he was 3rd by a neck, 2nd by a length and a quarter. So he's able to, unlike, we'll forget about last race where he got challenged early. Everybody figured out if you challenge him early, he's going to quit halfway through the race. If he doesn't get challenged early, I think he's going to be very dangerous and at least give me a good thrill here at 12-1. But the best race that he's had in that span was 3 back when he finished 2nd by a length and a quarter. Got a 119 time form figure. He broke from post 2. He broke inside. The last 2 races, post 9, post 5. He's breaking from post 2. The 1 has absolutely no speed. The 3 maybe has a little bit of speed, but is the bug boy going to go out there and try and challenge? We'll find out. But I'm using the 2 just because there's a chance he could just get brave up front finally and get the job done. And then I also did use the number 6 Harlow Cap at 4-1. This is the last horse on my ticket. He exits a nice win going 1 1/8 here against N1X Company, and he's never missed the exacta when he's been on a fast track and not in stakes company. I am worried cutting back from the 1 1/8 here to the mile trip and now facing N2X instead of N1X allowance is going to be too much for him, but I do respect the connections. I do respect his talent. He's a former Bob Baffert trainee. I will say, caveat, if scratches end up hurting or helping the 10 move inside a bit by at least 2 post positions, I will drop the 6 and replace him with the 10. I think that the 10 is a much better horse for this spot overall. It just came down to post. If you swap their posts, I'm putting the 10 much higher on my list, and the 6 isn't on my ticket. But he's got the talent and the connections to be competitive. And if Rocket Can doesn't fire and the 10 doesn't like that post, this is blown wide open.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the whole, I was against the 6 mainly because of, I don't know if he's going to be good enough. He was Baffert, so he kind of was on that Derby trail. And then all of a sudden he hasn't really won any races. He only has 2 wins, and one of them last out going a mile and an eighth. So seems like one of those justifies that may actually want to go long. So I that was my case against him. And I don't understand why the 2 has never ran in a 6 furlong race. And, he's ran twice. He's ran in sprints, but otherwise he's always been going long. And it seems like at some point somebody should tell these connections, you can run them short. Like, it's okay to run 6 furlongs. They actually have races for that. Like the one right before this, you could run in that one, as it turns out. So it's a little confusing to me.
Well, I will say that the trainer, Joe Horan, the trainer of the Two Pats property, he has 13 more wins in the last year at Oaklawn Park than I do as a trainer. So
combined, you and I combined.
I agree. I realize what you're saying. You know what? If this horse went 7 furlongs somewhere like Churchill Ellis, 7 furlongs seems great because it's too far for the 6 furlong sprinters to be able to handle, but the horses that are cutting back from real routes and not short stretch routes might not be able to really get him. I don't know. I'm going to use him because of that speed, but he's definitely vulnerable. Speaking of vulnerable, we'll see if we've got any vulnerable tickets heading into this last leg, the 5th and final leg at Oaklawn Park on Saturday, March 16th, race 11. Oh boy, 12. I'm sorry, 12 Arkansas bred maiden fillies and mares 3 and up, plus 2 also eligibles, sprinting 6 furlongs. What a way to end this sequence at Oaklawn. Where are you going on top, Nick?
Oh boy, I mean, everywhere. Pick one, throw a dart. I'm going to continue my ideas of trying to get cute and play some prices. So I landed on the 3 coming out of that January 27th race, which I've said before, coming out of the 10 hole, and was 9-2 on that day. Means she got bet at least a little bit. People thought she had a chance. She did not fire. She was not a very close 6th, then ended up 9th and not really showing much of anything. But I'm hoping that maybe they were smart, the bettors being smart, putting her down to 92. And maybe this is the place where she needs to be. Like you say, maybe it's not a total blog down there, and maybe it's a fast track. Maybe that's what she wanted. Maybe any number of things. But at 15-1, you're not going to talk me off of it. And that's the whole thing I did today, was just like, I'm going to pick long prices so he can't say anything bad about it. He's like, oh, it's a long price. It makes sense. So I'll continue that trend of the 3 being, she was bet last time. Maybe she'll be good this time. She hasn't shown anything. It's only her 2nd race. So I'm going to just kind of, like I say, throw a dart. I can go any number of ways, which I did at the end.
Listen, I went 4 deep here. She's not my top pick, but I agree with you on this horse for the reasons you mentioned. She got bet down pretty good for that debut. Could have just been the slop. We're getting a fast track here, so a new situation. She'll have a little bit of experience. And with all due respect to Esquivel, we're getting an upgrade to Rafael Bejarano in the much more experienced jockey in the saddle. Out of that race on January 27th, the 3rd and 6th place finishers both won. Next out, actually, the 6th place finisher has now won 2 straight out of that race. So you don't see too many Arkansas bred maiden special weights that produce next out winners. This one produced 2. So there you go. With we agree on the number 3. My Juliet, my top pick is the 6, running the streets at 2-1. She's starting to approach lifetime maiden status, but because she's an Arkansas bred, I think she's got to do it like another couple of years before we get there. 9 starts, 5 seconds. She loves to run second and 2/3. But 2 back, she was second to my girl No Coincidences, who we already talked about. I'm using in race 8 on this card. But if you look back, she raced 3 back. She was at Prairie Meadows on August 4th, finished second as the 2-5 favorite. 148-day layoff. And then she comes back at Oaklawn Park, finishes second in both of those, but each of those races, Nick, produced a career best time form figure. So she tied her career best 2 back and then eclipsed it last time out. She loves to pass horses. The problem is she also tends to love to give herself too much to do. She needs to be closer early, like she was 3 and 4 back at Prairie Meadows, but that was also routing, so they're not going as fast early. She's got talent to win at this level. It's just one of these times she's going to do it. Is this the time? Maybe we'll find out. So I put her on top.
Yeah. So I had the exact same opinion, except I said she couldn't win at Prairie Meadows. And as much as we all love Prairie Meadows and Arkansas bred versus Prairie Meadows, it's probably pretty similar. I mean, eventually she'll end up at Canterbury because that's where they also end up going, and she'll end up on the grass. And 15 races from now, she'll still be a maiden, and we'll still be making a case for her at 3 to 5 because she keeps running second. So, she has every right to win. And at 2 to 1, fine, you can have her. I will have a ticket with her when I play my single in the 15 to 1 in the race previous to this. But I like the 7, who was running a not very close second to No Coincidence, who just ran away with that race last time at Oaklawn on that sloppy track. Also not on the rail on that February 3rd day. I like the way that the Q's Your Mama ran until she stopped running and then just got passed very easily by running the streets. So I made that case again. Okay, second out, second time is 3. Maybe she's going to be a little bit closer. Maybe she needed that race to get a little stamina. I liked it better when it wasn't 7 to 2. So I don't have a real strong you really got to use this 7 Q's Your Mama, but better than 6 running on the streets, let's say. So I'm going to kind of make that case that she's slightly better, and I don't want to be live in a pick 5 and then lose because I got too cute trying to leave off these 2, leave off the 7. I'll lose not having the 6 on. I won't lose having the 7 on.
I also used her, and I agree with you on the points you made. I also love the fact that, okay, so she got outrun by No Coincidences. That horse is fast, right? She's in the, I'm using her in that allowance race earlier on the card. You look at this group. Who's the speed? The 8? The 8 loves to go to the lead and about halfway through the turn just say, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go to the barn now. The 7 showed good speed. She was, like I said, chasing No Coincidences and just couldn't finish it. But second start, fast track, daughter of Coal Front, seems to have the talent to win at this spot. So I'm with you here. And I think with her being on the lead early gives her a strong chance. I almost put her on top because of that speed angle there. She did get caught late by running in the streets. I think she just ran out of gas, trying to chase No Coincidences. But second out, I think this is going to be a big chance for her to improve. So I agree with you on that one. We each have one more horse we're using. Who are you going with?
I have 2. I have the 8, who I'm going to make the case for that you said quit. I'm going to say she needs that second race. She needed the race. She needed, build up that stamina. Now coming out of an maiden claimer, wasn't Arkansas bred, so maybe it's a drop down going to Arkansas bred maiden special weight. Maybe 20 to 1. You can't talk me off of it. So I'll make that basic argument of second race. I kind of like the way she may make a move here. I mean, there was 12 horses in that race, and she was bet down to 10 to 1 out off the rail and made the lead from the rail. Maybe moving out maybe makes a chance for her to do something. We'll see. The other one that I liked a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't really like anything here is the 12. Same thing on that February 3rd, was a little bit closer to the rail, but was pushed out in that No Coincidence race. Was the one that was running 3rd behind the 7 Q's Your Mama. She was running 3rd and then got passed by running the street. So I'm going to say second out again, maybe make the case that they needed that race. And basically I was just trying to make the case to beat the 6. The 6 wins this race. No one's really going to be shocked. I just feel like you got to try the one that's lost 9 races and ran second. Try to beat her. Okay. Throw a dart and I'll be okay with basically anything you decide to land on outside the 6, I think.
I don't hate it. I did look at the 12 a little bit. Trainer Scott Becker, much better number second start than it is for debuting horses. So you see 39 to 1 on debut is now 6 to 1 on this morning line. I don't hate that. It's not. I'm not scared off by that big swing in the price. I think 6 to 1 might be a little too short for me to take her here. But listen, you're trying to beat the favorite, the 6. So go right ahead with this 12. Don't hate it. As far as the 8 goes, I'm going to let her beat me. Just plain and simple. I'm going to let that horse beat me. I didn't like anything about that effort that she had. I know she broke from the rail, but she was up there. She dueled, and the second that it was time to, really put things into gear, she just gave it right up. So no fight whatsoever. And I'm just worried that that's going to happen again here with the 7 pushing her. Car Ramrod, for the audio listeners, Car Ramrod is saying that trainer Scott Becker is better when he's at Fairmount Park. We'll just leave it at that. last up for me, I'm going to kind of go between the two horses you use. Give me the 9 Miss Mo Mesa at 15-1. Bet down to 5-1 for her debut. It was in the mud a week later than a lot of these horses ran. It was February 10th for her. Something about those Saturdays in February were really rough for rain there at Oaklawn Park. But trainer Lindsay Schultz is really strong at Oaklawn Park, 22% winners in last year. This horse bet down to 5-1 for her debut. Again, I'm thinking maybe she hated the mud, like we've seen with a couple of these horses, like the 3. The winner of that race, Delta Moon, repeated next out. So she lost in a race that was won by a very good Arkansas bred, is what that tells me. So 5-1 on debut. Now you give her some experience in a fast track, and now she's 15-1. To me, that says value. And so I want to get, just like her sire, Mo for the money. I want to get Mo for my money. See if the 9 Miss Mo Mesa can spring the upset here.
Yeah, I'm like I say, I can make a case for just about everybody. You can only throw so many on when you're trying to make a ticket here. So if you play, either single the 6 or play everybody else in some way, shape, or form. I love the AB type of ticket building, so I'll have some way that I'm singling the 4 in race 10, and then everybody but the 6, or maybe just everybody in this race. I'm sure the ticket police will love me saying that, and I won't get any crap for that. But I think it makes sense. You try to beat the 6, you try to, get a price, and the 6 wins this one. It makes complete sense, but I'm gonna let her beat me. I hope. I don't know. I hope she doesn't beat me.
Ticket police have no jurisdiction in these parts around here. That's all I'm going to say. Since you said you can make a case for just about everybody, a horse that both Shoddy and Ed are saying that they like is the 11 Sparkly at 5-1. Neither of us used, but you said you could make a case for just about anybody. So make the case for Sparkly.
Yeah, went bet down 9-1, running out of the rail first time out. I don't like that she ran on the rail that I thought was really good, but didn't break quite well. But then just kind of held on for 4th. Came out slow, was 12th out of the gate, and then kind of moved up into 4th and just didn't pass anybody. So kickback. I didn't watch the race all that closely, but kickback probably if she's on the rail, squeezed in. Torres is a good rider. Yeah, there's your case.
I'll add to that. She exits the same race that my Julia did, where the 3rd and 6th place finishers both won next out. 6th place finisher has won 2 straight. So there's your case for it, along with she was a debuting horse on the rail, and so many times you can just be able to say, nope, didn't like it, didn't want it. She fared better than my Julia did that day, that's for sure. So
and broke slow. So you figure if she gets a better break and coming out of that 11 hole, I don't like the 11 so much, but I made the case for the 12, so I can't really talk you off of the 11 for it.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Nick Show. We'll go ahead and give out our tickets one last time for the audio listeners. But if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, hit like on the video and subscribe. And make sure you comment if you're watching this after the fact. Comment with your tickets below or your thoughts on these races. Put it down in the comments section. Every little bit you can do helps the YouTube algorithm and gets our show into more viewers' eyes. Nick, I'm going to start off with my 50-cent Pick 5 ticket. I'm going to go 2-3-6 with 1-4-6. Single the 2, then 2-5-6-8, and then 3-6-7-9. A total of $72, which you also have, but just very different horses.
Very different. I went with the 2-6 in the 7th race, with a 3-5-10 in the 8th, 2-4 in the 9th, 4-5-10 in the 10th, and the 3-7-8-12, and parentheses all in that last race. But yeah, 3-7-8-12 to end it for me.
Over at the racingdudes.com, not only do we have free picks for every race, every track, every day across the country, we also have premium picks for every race, every track, every day, which includes exacta, trifecta, multi-race wagers, all available. So go check that out if you haven't before. You can also see here we have a full preview from Aaron for the Whitmore Stakes, and I see Tejano Twist, our top pick, my single, right there in the picture. So you can probably guess who Aaron likes in the race as well. Much earlier today, though, they started much later than anticipated. Blinkers Off discussed kind of the overall picture of the Kentucky Derby. So no Kentucky Derby prep races this week, the last time until we're done with all of the prep races. Hope everybody's been enjoying the off week. I know that I have and Aaron has. But with this podcast and this show, I talked about the overall picture of the Kentucky Derby, who they think could be a favorite if the Derby was run right now. So go check that out if you want your Kentucky Derby thoughts. And then coming up here in 5 minutes, if you're watching live or catch it on replay on podcast or YouTube, college basketball picks from the absolute hottest college basketball handicapper in the country, Papa Dude. If you want to get ready for March Madness, if you want to make some sports bets, if you're in a state, unlike Nick and I, where you can legally bet on sports, this is a great show to listen to. Papa Dude has been absolutely on fire with his college basketball picks. So check them out here in just a few minutes or on replay. Nick, thank you so much again for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun when you step in. Usually, it's not uncommon for Mike and I to have a Frankenstein ticket between the two of us. If you used all of our plays, it hits at an alarmingly high rate. That could happen here because you and I covered most of the horses in these races. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than if a normal Magic Mike Show Frankenstein ticket. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Before you go, who is your, right now, top pick to win the Kentucky Derby?
I have a 200-1 $50 bet on Stronghold from Pool 3. So my pick is Stronghold, who definitely isn't winning because 2 weeks ago my pick was Imperial Gun. So that's how my ticket's probably going to end up with. But I like Stronghold. I don't like any of these. I think it's going to be a Rich Strike type situation. Hit the all others on the Future Pool this weekend in the 40 Future Pool 5, the 40, all others. That one's going to hit. I guarantee it.
My pick is not just because I have him in the fantasy league, but I really am getting to be higher and higher the more I think about it on Encino. He's coming out of Turfway Park. He has 2 straight wins at Turfway Park, including the John Battaglia Stakes. He's a very slim margin away from winning 3 straight. He's going to the Bluegrass Stakes, and quite often you see Brad Cox send his best 3-year-old to the Bluegrass Stakes. I love that they're going to try dirt. We've seen in the last couple of years, Rich Strike, 2 fills, horses come out of that Turfway Park series that do very, very well. So I am on Encino right now, but it is as wide open as it's ever been. It's just crazy. I will say he's by a Kentucky Derby winner in Nyquist, and he's out of a dam who is a half sister to champion and Kentucky Derby winner Street Sense. So it's a good Godolphin homebred. You know that it's just blue bloods everywhere all over the page there, but this one seems pretty good. So that's who I've got.
That's Rodney's music is what I heard.
Yeah,
that was Rodney's music. When you said Encino, I was waiting for him to come crashing through the window or something.
Rodney must have turned us off early because we'd be otherwise we'd be seeing him. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Nick is the once and soon to be future host of Dudes After Dark. We're going to say that we're bringing it back. It's going to be cut. If you wanted Turfway Park and we disappointed you by not having it, guess what? We're going to start having a weekly live betting show for Turfway Park. This guy right here, Nick Sievers, when his internet's working, is going to be helping to co-host along with friends of the Racing Dudes. You know him, you love him, Shoddy and Davey. So great Turfway Park conversations, live betting on Wednesday nights. Dudes After Dark, it's coming back. And Nick, I really hope that this time your 2 co-hosts don't just quit on you after a month, because that just wasn't nice.
I had to pull them into a Friday Del Mar. So, we only have 2 weeks left of Turfway, sadly. So we'll have to figure out how to bet pin for a few weeks before we get to.
So this won't even last a month. It's going to last 2 weeks. Great.
That's what I tried to tell Shoddy was we only got a couple weeks left of this goodness that is Turfway.
Well, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Racing Dudes. Hit the notification bell. You'll be alerted every time we go live. You follow Nick on Twitter. He's at Nick Sievers. I am at Curtis Kalleward. Follow the Racing Dudes, the corporate overlords at Racing_Dudes. Until next time, I'm Magic. He's Nick. Good luck to Mike Somich and kind of to Dr. Tang. Get second behind Mike Somich at NHC this weekend. We'll see everybody next week. Take care.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.